Currently, oil and gas dependency remains high, so they'll be looking at how to now turn to renewable sources of energy. And the key global climate challenges facing us today, 2025, are what you see on your screen. Rising global temperatures as of September was the third warmest on record, 16.11 degrees Celsius, and also intensified drought in Africa and floods in Asia. Developing nations still lack affordable access to clean energy. These are the key global climate challenges facing now. Let's come to Ghana and look at our own situation. We are faced with coastal erosion, where 2 meters of shorelines is lost annually. I hope you remember what's happening in Keta, where the Environmental Protection Authority, the government, would have to come in to, protect the shoreline from Keta to Agaveji area. And another challenge we face as a country is heavy metal poisoning in rivers due to illegal mining. Galamsey is what we're talking about. Those are our own home challenges we face with regards to the climate. We also have urban floods increasing due to poor drainage and intense rainfall. Now, this is Ambassador Andrea Correa do Lago. He is the president-designate for COP30, and he's been making some comments. And he says, and I quote, "Each day is intended to connect negotiations with real-world impact, offering a platform where implementation, equity, and urgency meet. COP30 is where lived experiences must translate into urgent climate action." Well, so that's what we'll be discussing tonight. And joining me in studio will be the Brazilian ambassador to Ghana, Mariana Goncalves Madeira. She'll be in studio, and joining the conversation on Zoom is Ghana's lead negotiator for response measures and just transition work program, who is also a co-chair for the Katowice Committee of Experts on the Implementation of Response Measures. I'm talking about Madame Angelina Ama Tutua. Also on Zoom is the president of the Media Platform on Environment and Climate Change, MPEC, and a PC member of OFAP Ghana chapter, Madame Amakodom Ajiman. We also have the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority, Professor Nanama Brown Kluche, joining the conversation this evening. So we'll go straight into the discussion after this short breather. Stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us here on The Probe. Now, let's begin the conversation from the studio. And we are privileged to have Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Brazil to Ghana in studio, Mariana, joining us. Grateful for your time here on The Probe. Everyone is looking forward to going to the COP30 in Brazil. How prepared is Brazil to receive all the thousands of people who want to be in Brazil?
Thank you very much for having us. Well, we are doing the best.
Okay.
We are investing in infrastructure, specifically in accommodation, transport, and communication facilities. It has been a challenge because logistics and accessibility have often been a point of concern for COPs, but so much so in Belém, that was not one of the biggest cities, but it is in the heart of the Amazon, so I think it will pay the challenge. Thank you.
Right, so how does the hosting of the COP30 actually show your leadership in climate matters?
Well, since Rio 92, we have been pretty much committed with global climate negotiations. Right. And we have built quite a history on this, in this regime. So hosting a COP in Belém is a significant landmark, not only for Brazil, but I think for the global South, in making our voices heard, and especially the voices from the Amazon, which is the most, I would say, the most important ecosystem in the world. The Amazon is the lungs, right? Our lungs.
Yeah, yeah. And you are hosting this particular COP30 less than 20 or 30 kilometers from the Amazon. Why?
That's the point. We want to showcase the Amazon. We want the voices of the indigenous people to be heard. We want this to be a landmark. Our ambitions are very high. So, you know, it's a challenge, but also an opportunity to make this a landmark COP.
Right. I'll come back to you. We'll look at other arrangement, visa arrangement, those who want to go to COP30 and all that, and your expectation as a nation, actually, what do you expect from the COP30? But let me bring in the CEO of the Environmental Protection Authority. She is Professor Nanama Brown-Cloche. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you are busy doing so many works for this country from where you are joining us from. But let me find out from you, how prepared are we, especially the Environmental Protection Authority, in taking part in this particular COP30, not just taking part, but making sure our voice, Ghana's voice, is heard at that conference?
Thank you, Carlos, for hosting me, and greetings to your listeners or viewers. I'm happy to also announce through your medium that for the first time, Ghana is very much prepared. Last week, Ghana launched the group of negotiators who will be leading in negotiating on behalf of Ghana. So we had a group of experts, of negotiators. So these are climate experts from different institutions coming together to talk on behalf of Ghana at COP30. So we were able to launch it last week, and I'm happy to also say that the ambassador, Mariama, who is there in your studio, graced the occasion. So we are prepared. We normally will do a pre-COP activity. So what we are going to talk about is a group before we go to COP. But this time, launching it makes all of the members of the negotiating team more committed to the issues that each individual groups will be discussing at COP. So we showcase the leadership of the negotiation team. So we have for every thematic area a leader. So for example, I am leading research and technology discussions at COP, making sure that every issue related to climate change on research and technology, we present our case from Ghana and tap into the opportunities that are presented from different countries at COP. Then we have, like Angelina, as you said, for response measure, we have a lead for climate finance. As you can see on your screen, we have a lead for loss and damage funds and all of that. This is an opportunity for Ghana to present our case. This year COP, the focus is going to be on action. So we are going to accelerate the action and the implementation that we've been discussing at COP over the years. So for Brazil, the theme or the goal is going to be focusing on the action, the implementations. We don't want to be talking again. And as the ambassador said, where we are going to have it is a small city, but it also represents the value of the indigenous voices. So we, from Ghana side, we are happy that we have cultural values that used to guide us in preserving our environment, protecting the climate system. So with COP, we're going to revisit our indigenous knowledge, our cultural values, our traditional settings in protecting our environment, in protecting the climate system.
All right. Thank you so much. Interesting you mentioned some negotiators who will be part of the delegation going to Berlin in Brazil. It's a good time to bring in one of them, Angelina Ama Tutua. She's a climate advocate and she joins us on Zoom. Grateful for your time. What are you looking forward to with this year's COP30? You have been to many COPs, and what difference are you looking forward to for this particular year? If you can unmute, I believe we can hear what you're saying. Right. We are trying to reconnect to Madam Angelina Ama Tutua. Let's switch to Nanama Ajiman Kudom, if she's also on the Zoom. I'll ask you the same question. Your expectations for this year's COP?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, and let me salute Prof. Congratulations. I haven't met her yet, but I did send a message, and I'm really excited about the package that is Ghana is sending to COP. You know, from where I am sitting, this appears to be a well-organized approach towards Ghana's participation in the COP. I'm stressing on well-organized because now we have a situation where there is going to be a negotiator for almost all the key areas that are going to be discussed. Formerly, we didn't have that kind of thing. So Ghana missed on a lot of the discussions, and which meant that some of the key things that were discussed that Ghana had to, contribute, or Ghana had to look at and take back home, we missed that opportunity. So I am excited with what is going to be sent to Brazil. I'm also excited about one key development, that is the South-South cooperation. You realize that so far it has been a dominance of the North, that is the developed countries. And the relationship that should exist between the southern nations has not really been very strong. And I think this is one of the things that the UN Secretary General is going to hype at the conference. And for me, it's very, very key because there is need for countries in the South to really come together. I know India has started something with Ghana. It is fantastic, but we need to go beyond that to see how best we can address our common issues when it comes to climate change impacts.
And looking at the peculiar situation we have as a country, Galamsey, coastal erosion, and all of those things, where should the focus be for the delegation that will be representing the country at COP?
I think it's very good that even before COP, Ghana, actually it's part of the international agreement. The review of our nationally determined contributions have gone on. I was part of one of the processes, that is the CSO's session, where they were concerned that, yes, we do have Ghana has highlighted her priority areas that we are addressing. But they were concerned that when you look at the issue of land, mining has not been specifically highlighted. I haven't seen the final version yet of the reviewed version, but I want to believe that the concerns of the CSOs has been captured on the new one. So once it's done, whoever is going to spearhead the negotiations on that will talk about that. Because you see, what is happening with with the Galamsey, it's in Ghana, but it's not just Ghana. It is not just Ghana. So it is a global issue. It's an international issue, because after we have taken the gold, where does it go? Does it stay in the country? No, it doesn't. There is trade involved. Who is buying it? And even, let me not even go to the trading yet. In the actual Galamsey activities, yes, or illegal mining, or whatever mining is going on, who are those involved? We have foreign nationals involved. And that is why that kind of cooperation is really, really near. China, I think, is also part. China is in a very wonderful position. When we talk about develop, they are there, undeveloped, they are there, and we are collaborating with them. So this is the time for we, the nations in the South, to really stand up and identify how best we can together address this menace.
Right. And loss and damage fund implementation is one of the key things that will be discussed at this year's COP. I'll go back to Prof to find out the mining aspect of what you raised, though. But with regards to the loss and found implementation, how can Ghana actually quicken the pace to actually tap into that fund if it actually has been implemented, so it benefits communities who are already, facing climate issues?
Please, is that for me or for Prof?
No, it's for Ama Kodom Ajiman.
Okay, I think there are mechanisms for us to tap in. You see, when it comes to the issues of loss and damage, even though climate impact, the impact that we call it localization, local impacts, becoming global. But at the end of the day, it starts from somewhere. So where that particular issue is happening, we should be able to assess a particular fund. The funds are structured in such a way that there is some for specific activities. There is some for specific addressing. Like when it comes to adaptation, how will communities adapt? So there are funds that should adapt that. And I believe that we have experts who will best identify those areas that we can tap to help our communities. Now, for instance, we're talking about community mining. There are guidelines for community mining, but you realize that communities were fed up with a situation where people are, whether they were given permit or whether they went there by themselves, it's really not clear.
Right.
But they sit there and outsiders, that is non-indigents, come there to mine. So they took matters into their own hands. Now, these people do not even appreciate what is happening to them because they make money to buy whatever they want to buy. Now, just about a few weeks ago, I returned from Yaokrum. And you see what?
It's a challenge, right?
Food items, yes. Food items should be carried from rural areas to urban areas. But now the situation has reversed. And so food items, food crops, I'm talking about crops, yam. I'm talking about charcoal. Can you imagine that charcoal is being sent from Kumasi to these communities? And because the power of money, emboldens people so much so that they don't really care. So I got talking with one of them. Oh, madam, we reclaim. What kind of expertise do they have to reclaim? So that is where we need money for that. We really need money to do reclamation in those communities. Else, it is death traps. It is a threat, a severe threat to food security.
Is reclamation one of the key things we should be championing at the COP30?
I think that whoever is leading the negotiation should also talk about that, because you see, if we do not do reclamation, one, it's going to affect the farming. Already farming will be affected in any way we look at it. We may not be able to use the soil depending on the chemicals, the residue of chemicals that are left in the soil and in the water bodies. We may not be able to use for farming again. But you see, the threat to life. Because people do walk about. People do go from places. And so if these pits are not reclaimed, the threat to life is going to be very, very severe. And we need to look at that. So whoever is leading that negotiation should note that.
Okay, thank you so much. Stay on for us. Let me come in studio and speak to Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Brazil to Ghana. Ghana and Brazil, you've been collaborating a lot in so many areas. One of the challenges we face as a country has to do with illegal mining. You heard Madam Ama Kodom Ajiman saying reclamation is one of the key things we need to be pushing at COP. How is Brazil actually going to collaborate with Ghana to address some of these challenges we face, with regards to illegal mining?
Well, I think the South-South cooperation is the key point in addressing the issues, because it will be essential to achieve the developmental goals that we want. So it's through technical cooperation and sharing our best practices, especially in the illegal mining, the issue of illegal mining. I know that some of the experts here in Ghana have been looking at the model that we have in Brazil for artisanal mining that is being inspiring. And we also need to learn from Ghana, from community-based actions, and some of the experiences that you have here. So I think it's through this sharing of experiences in, making the most of COP. The opportunity is there for us to collaborate, and as partners, of course. So making it is an opportunity, for sustainable agriculture, renewable energy, and also biofuels, that I think is an essential.
I think, Brazil, you've done a lot in that regard when it comes to renewable energy, agriculture, and all that. And what would you say we need to do differently? How can we tap into those experiences of Brazil?
Well,
because your food production, for instance, is so, high. You're able to protect your environment. I don't know how big Galamsey is in Brazil, though. But some of the key lessons we can learn from, you in areas of renewable energy, agriculture, and all those things, if you can share with us.
Well, I think there needs to be, because we want to touch base with the Ghanaian authorities, there needs to be an open-mindedness in maybe changing the way things have been done so far, especially like in agriculture, because some of the programs, like for some of the crops, are based on family agriculture, but I think that needs to have like an expansion of that understanding that you might need bigger investments in some crops and shared of experiences, so that the big investments can come and also facilitate for the communities. So it is a tough negotiation in some of the sectors.
Okay, and here in Ghana, what specific, support is the embassy, for instance, giving to us even before we go to COP, maybe in agriculture and other spaces?
Well, we had an important project in the cashew sector. We also have investment. We have a big cashew facility close to Tema in Pram, and we have a big rice farm. And in the rice sector is the big issue here in Ghana. So how do you augment the production, the domestic production, and import less rice, right? It's one of the key issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Let me bring in Professor Nanama Brown-Cloche. Madam Ama Kudomajima was raising some concerns with regards to mining being or not being on the list of our priorities going to COP. Is that the case?
Yes, Carlos. Actually, that is the case, because mining or illegal mining is not directly, it's not a climate impacted issue. So if we want to have discussion on climate, we don't bring in mining. We bring in the impact of mining because mining has helped make the climate impact worse.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the land, we are already struggling from deforestation by climate change. We're suffering from losing the quality and the quantity of our water bodies because of climate change. And mining has made the situation even worse. So if you talk about the land, if you talk about the water. So when we are talking about loss and damage discussions, for instance, whose fund was established in 2022 at COP27 in Egypt, Sharm el-Sheikh, the fund is established. We can go to the table, talk about the impact of climate change in terms of loss and damage that we have in Ghana. But it's also okay to bring in the impact of mining because it has made the situation worse.
Right.
We can't make it a priority in our discussion because it's not a direct impact of climate change. Mining or illegal mining impact is not a direct impact of climate change. We can only talk about it as making it worse because of illegal mining, making the climate impact
Right. So the damage fund, for instance, that you
so that is
yeah, just
yes.
land on your point. Yeah.
So the climate fund. So this is where we start the discussion. Yeah. So discussions on the funds or the benefits we get from COP. It starts from somewhere. We start a discussion, and then it leads to the establishment. Loss and damage discussion started some years ago, but we're only able to get it established in 2022 at COP27. Okay. And then after, we expect that the individual countries, the developed countries, will put in support or fund for the developing countries. The same way we started the adaptation fund. Adaptation fund was a big struggle in the discussion, but in 2001, we were successful to get the adaptation fund established. And now Ghana benefits from the adaptation fund. In fact, our nationally determined contributions, which we call the NDCs, has a list of actions that we're doing. I mean, it's a continuous process. We've done some, we're still on for the adaptation of the country. So the impacts of climate change on the people, we need the people to adapt, or people need to adapt. For example, coastal erosion. If the coast we are losing the coast 2 meters every year, that is the average, actually. In some coastal areas, it's more than 2 meters a year.
Right.
And it clearly can tell the story of Keta area. So, such a community, we need to do something for them to adapt to the impact of climate change. That is because of sea level rise. What can we do for them? We tap into the adaptation fund. We find green or sustainable way of their living. It could be migration, migrating them to inner land. It could be building sea defense. Whatever plan we have in the NDC, it has to be green as well. So the adaptation fund is not just for you to survive or adapt to the impact of climate, but it has to also be positive in terms of climate change. It has to be green. It has to be less in terms of emissions of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Right. We also have mitigation fund, by the way, that direct us to go into technologies that we implement in the country to reduce emissions. So let's say for building, for instance, infrastructure, we need to put up infrastructure or get into technologies that will give us green buildings, materials that will not give so much emission into the climate change. So the funds will start discussion, and the reason we need to be serious and intentional as Ghana going to COP is because we need our voices heard, we need our situation properly addressed. That is why we had to launch the negotiators. Let me also use your media to announce that this year, Ghana is going to lead the African negotiators. So we're going into an election, actually, and we know with all confidence, with the support of His Excellency, the President, John Dramani Mahama, Ghana is going to win as the president of the African negotiation team. It's right. AGN.
For the entire Africa. What does that mean? What would that mean?
Yeah, so which means that we're not going to negotiate only as a country, but we're going to lead also to negotiate for the whole continent as Ghana. And this is a big achievement for us as a country.
Right. Congratulations on those successes that you're chalking in those areas. But the concern still remains. These funds you spoke about, are we really seeing the benefits? Are Ghanaians actually benefiting from them as we speak? And are there examples you may want to share with us?
Yes, thank you. And then let me also, some of the benefits, yes, includes providing improved seedlings for farmers. So where we know that the climate is impacted, especially in the northern part of Ghana, where drought is rampant or frequent, where farmers struggle to plant within the planting season because of drought or because of erratic rainfall. These improved seedlings are there for smart agricultural technologies and all of that to improve. I want to bring in what my sister Ama Kudom Ajiman mentioned on reclamation of our lands.
Okay.
So that is a discussion we can also present for the adaptation fund and even under the loss and damage fund, because climate change has already impacted the land. Illegal mining has made it worse. We can present that because these funds are to make developing countries comfortable. So if our land is degraded to the extent that we can't even grow food, this is a perfect discussion to send to the negotiation table to say, hey, we need funds to remediate our land, in fact, reclaim our land, remediate and then rebuild, either for agricultural purposes or any other way, depending on the discussion or depending on what we want to present on the table. But we have the opportunity. We just need to be present at the table and also voice out the issues and negotiate.
And that's why you've trained a lot of negotiators that Amako don't believe is the best ever that we are sending to the COP. You agree that
Yes.
we are sending the best ever team of negotiators to the COP?
Yes, so this is more like a coordination. So in the past, these climate experts and negotiators have been there. They've been attending COP for negotiation. But we didn't have a coordination at COP. So you can get to a meeting where Ghanaian voices need to be heard, but you find nobody there because it was not coordinated. So this time around, we are intentional. We have given specific roles to the leadership, and leadership of the negotiators are forming their teams to making sure that for every thematic area, we have a Ghanaian there to voice our issue and also negotiate for the benefits that we need to get at COP back home.
Right. Concerns have also been raised, but that usually delegates or participants represent their countries, usually at the opening ceremony, and right after that, they are missing. I mean, they don't even see them. They don't participate in the actual negotiation. What are you doing differently since you are actually coordinating this whole thing to ensure that those we send there actually go and negotiate, especially the fact that you just revealed we now going to represent the entire continent of Africa?
Yes, thank you. Yes, in the past, we give accreditation. In fact, it's the Environmental Protection Authority under the Ministry of Science, Environment and Technology that gives the accreditation for COP representation as party or as government. So in the past, it was not structured. You get many people going without any locus or purpose. So they took advantage of the travel, I would say. This time around, we are very specific in giving very slim number, minimal accreditation. So everyone attending COP this time around has a purpose. We have institutional reps. Everyone has a purpose to deliver at COP. Even at EPA, which hosts these discussions or at COP, we are even very minimal, very specific, I would say. So we are very intentional about our COP this time around. And in fact, the president is concerned about the number of people who used to go to COP. So he had given us a directive this time around to limit as much as possible the participation or the number of people who attend COP. That's why we want to be very specific on those who are going with roles and responsibilities to play at COP.
Okay, hold it. Let me bring in Ama Kudom Ajiman also into the conversation. There are some who are raising concerns also that every year we go to COP, we have the conversation, we have the tea and the food. I mentioned this somewhere and, you know, somebody was not happy with me. But, I mean, it just talk shop. We go talk calm and nothing happens. How do we benefit as a country from the COP?
I think we do benefit. You see, the fact that now we even have a list of nationally determined contributions, that is how we are addressing our climate change impacts, is one of the benefits. You see, when this whole thing started, I'm glad that Brazil is hosting again. The Earth Summit started in Brazil, 1992, and our late president, Rawlings, blessed memory, he was there. And it was after that, even though long before that, you know, efforts had begun and that kind of thing. But it was after 1992, following the real declarations, that we even had the UNFCCC coming out. We have the Convention of Biological Diversity. We have the Convention on Drought and Desertification and other things coming up. And I believe that we have made tremendous progress in identifying what needs to be done, because that is the first thing. You are first of all identify what needs to be done, prioritize it, because you cannot tackle everything all together at the same time.
Right.
And then you go ahead and with what resources you have, you tackle other things. Now let me tell you of one specific benefit, because I worked on that project. That is the climate adaptation project that was funded by the Japanese government through the UNDP. And there was a media component that was being handled by the International Center for Journalists, ICFJ, I think, International Center for Journalists, yes, based in the US. So I worked on that and we trained, and at that one, we helped build the capacity of the media in reporting on climate issues. Now, the other part of it was that this project was implemented in 20 African countries, including Ghana. This highway, the highway from in front of Graphic, heading towards Obechibi, that's a beneficiary of that project. So what they were looking at, they were talking about resilience, and that is one of the adaptation, I think, methods. If I'm wrong, Prof will correct me.
Right.
Now, so we are. It was part of the efforts to ensure that as a nation, yes, the floods will come. Yes, the impact of climate change will come. But how can we also build our infrastructure in such a way that it has minimal impacts from climate change? So, for instance, you have a road. At least I will use, I live in Adenta. So I will use the Opomblo. Is that Opomblo? Yes, the road to Tetekwashi. Right. You realize that part of it is down. So it rains 5 minutes and the entire place is flooded. We have other places like that. Now we expect that through the ingenuity of engineering and civil works, we expect that when they are doing designing and constructing this road, they will have climate resilience, you know, at the back of their minds, so that our roads and whatever infrastructure we are putting in place is able to resist the impact that we cannot really handle by ourselves. And all of these things came through the COPs. So that was a benefit.
Interesting. And what are you expecting from the team that is going to negotiate on our behalf this year? What new things are you looking forward to?
For me, let me talk about the media thing, the media aspect, because I believe, I'm glad Prof is saying that, you know, it's kind of intentionally trained kind of team that is going, it's specific, everybody has a role. So hopefully no time for gallivanting around, you have to be there. And when you come back, you have to report. So I am also expecting to see that there is also a media team that is not going to be distracted by other things. Because you see, at such conferences, the voice of Ghana can easily be lost. Because the major international media houses, they are really, unless it is something really that they deem very, very important, or however importance is defined in their background, you see, that they will follow. So some of the things that Ghana may voice, as some of the things that our negotiators may be able to, you know, voice out, champion for the others to follow, might be lost. So if we don't have our media there, right there to report on how well our negotiators are doing, we will miss out on that. Maybe they would have brought out key initiatives that will help the country, but we will miss out on that.
Okay.
Or it will be reported in such a way that we will miss out on that. I am expecting to see that we will not miss out on that. I am not going to COP. It's a long time since I went to COP,
Right.
but thanks to technology, yes.
You can
so
join
I can
COP
be
from
monitoring from
you are.
wherever I am. That is the good thing.
Okay.
Exactly.
But your key point is that media representation should be there to be able to, trumpet whatever
Exactly.
issues we're going to be.
Exactly.
Okay. I'll come
Exactly.
to Her Excellency in studio, but let me get some reaction from Prof. Whether there's an arrangement also for the media to participate in this year's COP to ensure that the voices or the whatever we're going to be saying at COP will be brought back home for the benefit of the ordinary Ghanaian.
Yeah, thank you, Carlos. You know what Amma said, she expects the media to carry the stories on. What came to my mind is over to you, Joe Latte. I just want to believe that I just want to believe that Joy will be fully represented. On our budget, we have only support for one media person to represent Ghana at COP. I just hope that other media houses or persons will get support to attend COP to cover. It's important that Ghanaians know the conversation that is going on. In fact, what Amma said is very important because it also gives us the opportunity to hear Ghanaians what is the issue if we are not going the right way. Ghanaians are able to tell us. Different groups, communities, especially CSOs, are able to voice out on the way or assess the way the negotiations are going and give us feedback and for us to move on with it. So as the discussions are going on, we are happy that the media is showing interest already, and we all expect more involvement of the media this time around and even in the future.
All right. Hopefully, let me come in studio. Some of our viewers are asking on social media what arrangement the Brazilian embassy is putting in place for those who want to travel in terms of visa acquisition and all those things. What do you need to do, an ordinary person who wants to be there?
Well, so far we have not received that many requests, I must say. But yes, we're putting on efforts to streamline the visa process. And also we will set up designated points in airports for the reception of the delegates. But as far as I understand, we haven't had many, yes, we want to have more
people to come.
People to come, and we want to keep the conversation going.
Okay.
We welcome as
Is it too late for delegates to start applying to travel to COP?
No, not at all. Not at all. We will streamline, we'll give first priority, and we hope that everything will go on fine.
Okay, and someone is also asking about hosting capacity. We know where the conversation is going to happen. The conference center or the place, the town is not a big place. They want to know if the thousands of people who are traveling to Brazil from across the world will have accommodation and all those issues. What is the issue like on the ground?
Yes, it's one of the biggest issues that have been brought up, not now, but some months ago even. So the government is running. Belém does not have the accommodation capacity for a COP, so we had to, the hotels had to upgrade the number of beds, and also we had to come up with innovative ideas. So we're bringing up cruise ships to Belém, and we are partnering with universities so that people from, from the civil society and different groups can come to Belém, and even in nearby towns. So all those things are being thought.
Okay, so those who want to visit the Amazon, for instance, what arrangement for them?
Well, Belém is not really in the Amazon, so you'd have to have, go a little further inland to try and see. But flying over, I'm sure that it's going to be very impactful for everyone that goes.
Okay. How important is the COP to Brazil, the fact that you're hosting it? What are the things you are looking forward to that will change the narrative when it comes to the climate bargain conversation?
Well, just like Rio 92 was a landmark, we hope that COP30 is also going to be a changing point. But our ambitions are very high, and our president just spoke of COP as the COP of truth, meaning we will try to put our focus on action and instead of speeches or negotiations. But the challenges are there. There are like 5 different negotiating processes with 140 items. So there are many things to negotiate. But our expectations are high. Like I said, we want concrete progress. And we want the COP is an opportunity, just like I want to highlight what was just said and your question about, bringing, what's the benefit of COP to the countries? It's bringing the conversation to the everyday man, to everybody. So I think that's how the media can cooperate with COP. And it's an issue. It's not just a conference, right? We are here. It's our future. It's how we live. Yeah. It's bringing this connection between the climate regime and people's lives. But also we have ambitions in finance, just like Ghana, upscaling finance through the TFFF, which is Tropical Forest Facility Finance, and which is a mechanism that will give financial compensations for countries that preserve their tropical forests. The NDCs, we hope to see more NDCs being announced, over 100. So far, we haven't reached that number. But so it's a big, we want to inspire people, the COP is that our ambitions can be a way to inspire our partners in terms of what we can achieve.
Yeah, and concerns have been raised. I'll go to Prof briefly as I wrap up. Concerns have been raised about the wealthier nations not giving the developing nations like Africa the fair deal when it comes to climate financing and all of that. Brazil is a stronger voice in that room. What are you going to do to ensure that at least the third world countries are able to, get some fair deals when it comes to these climate issues?
No, but we are also a developing country, and it's very opportune, it's very timely for Africa, for Ghana, that the COP is being hosted in Brazil, because Brazil is known to be the most African country outside of Africa. So we are together in this, it's not, we just want to negotiate. Of course, we want to expand our take on the negotiations, because we think that developing countries also have a share responsibility. We talk about the common but differentiated responsibilities. Okay. But still we want to expand on that, because we think that everyone should be held responsible for climate change impact. And so, we know that African countries contribute the least to the emissions, but suffer the most from climate impacts. And we understand that, because we also, our challenges and our needs are similar to yours. Okay. Just the access to finance, technology transfer and adaptation funding, like it was mentioned here before. So we stand with Ghana and other African countries to make our voices heard.
All right. Thank you so much. But stay with us. Let me give 1 minute each to Professor Nanama Brown Cloche. What would you want this COP to be remembered for?
Action. Implementation. So we have the Green Climate Fund, which we have discussed over and over and over again. And we need the developing world to contribute money, cash, into the fund. So that we expect that the countries will say, we have done this, not we will do it, because we have heard we will for several years. So we want it to be, this is what we have done. Some countries have started, but many more are yet to contribute to the fund. It's a voluntary fund, but we all agreed on it at a COP or in a COP discussion. So that is one. Then we need more funds into the adaptation fund because the impact of climate change is still on and becoming worse by day. Now the new fund that is established in 2022, the loss and damage fund. There are many developing countries who have had losses and damages because of climate change. Thankfully, the discussions have gone on severally and we have all come to an agreement to establish the fund. Now we need the resources into the fund for its use. All we want this time around is the action and the implementation at COP.
Right. Thank you so much. Ama Kodom Ajiman, your final words in 30 seconds. What do you want to see? What you want this COP to be remembered for? Ama Kodom Ajiman, you may have to unmute so we hear your final words.
Well, okay, so I want to, So I want to see Prof and her team coming back from COP30 with a package for Ghana, a package that will enable us to address the issues of land reclamation, particularly in the areas where that also are areas have food baskets, you know. I want to see that they come with something tangible to address that issue. And I also want us to see, I want to see a situation where we are also able to get funds to put into media climate activities, because it is very, very critical. If we keep quiet, they will not hear. But when we keep talking and when we keep highlighting the issues, people will hear and become more responsive and responsible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Ama Kodom Ajiman, for joining us here on The Probe. And I also want to thank Her Excellency Mariana Madriera, the Brazilian ambassador to Ghana, as well as Professor Nanama Brancucci, the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority, for joining us for this conversation. This has been The Probe, and we have more on this on myjoyonline.com. My name is Carlos Caloni. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good evening.